Today on the Railway Room, I'm building a Victorian freelance 009 narrow gauge steam loco from Fourdees. Hello friends, and welcome back to the Railway Room. So yes, today I'm going to be building up a Fourdees kit for a freelance Victorian steam loco. Now, as I said, this is a freelance loco, so there's no prototype to speak of as such. However, this is a loco very heavily inspired by the George England Ffestiniog locos, but imagining them as built as tank engines rather than having a tender. So the origins of the kit really comes down to Kato and Peco deciding to release the chassis for their England locos separately as well as part of the locos themselves, which is a really great move for 009 modelers to actually finally have a good, smooth running and reliable 040 chassis that can be used in various kits. The slight downside being that having inside frames and the fact that it's very much designed for the England locos with a saddle tank does slightly limit its use in other kits, which is why Fourdees and other manufacturers have opted to make freelance kits specifically to suit the mechanism, because it's such a good one and is so easily available. Now, Fourdees have got themselves a bit of a reputation amongst 009 modelers for really being an elite manufacturer, making some of the very best kits out there. This is going to be my first Fourdees build, although it's not the first one that I bought. I have actually got a couple more that are still in the works, but this was quite a quick one to put together, so it's the first video that's coming out. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if it actually lives up to the reputation that these kits have. So let's get cracking and open up the box and see what we get in the kit. Okay, so here's the loco, and straight away we can see a big difference between the Fourdees kits and most of the not regular 3D prints from other people. It comes in this lovely cardboard presentation box. So just from the off it screams quality. That's really nice. And we can see on here it's 41301K, the Pioneer, the one that I've gone for. And if we just pop the lid off, there's a very brief sheet of instructions, which to be honest is not really full instructions as such, but more generic guidelines for approaching these kits. And then inside there's a nice bit of foam padding at the bottom, and maybe a good idea to get a bit of extra foam padding to go in there, and then the completed loco can fit in nicely without worrying about it moving around. So the two bags, this is the first bag, contains the main loco body. There we go. So we can see there's really a lot of very fine detail in here, particularly all the pipework and the controls on the footplate there, and all the pipe working and the rivets around the smoke box door there. Very, very nice. Now I think there are maybe a couple of support pieces that are still on here that are going to need to be cut off, for example around the brake wheel there underneath, reaching across in the middle of these supports. So there are still a couple of supports on there, but it's a good thing they've left them on, because they're really going to protect it during transit before I get my big clumsy fingers all over it. And if we then look and see what we get inside the second bag, so straight away we see a second thing that marks these Fourdees kits out from kits from other manufacturers, in that it comes with this static chassis. It is purely static, it's all 3D printed in one, so you're not going to be able to use it as a rolling chassis. But this is a real point of difference to other manufacturers. So you can just have this straight away in position and have it as a purely static model for display. And I've just noticed what I did not notice before, that underneath the boiler here you've got some additional detailing pieces. It looks like a toolbox, an oil can, and something else. But yes, so the great thing about this is that if you want purely a static display model, either for just as a display in a display cabinet or on a static diorama, then you don't have to worry about getting a chassis. It comes with one already. And also it gives you the option to use the same chassis on multiple different locos and just swap the bodies over, and you've got a nice chassis here to use it as a spare for the ones that you're not running at the moment. So that's a really, really lovely detail. I'm very, very pleased that they include those. I think that's really, really excellent. And now what else is in here? If I tip it into the box so I don't lose anything. So there is the full boiler backhead. Let's see if I can get it into the camera. And that's just dripping with detail. And the nice thing is that that's separately fitted, but with all the ironwork around the back, it's going to be really awkward to paint that if it was in position, as it would be on quite a few other kits. So it's really great that that's separate so that you can paint it up on its own and then glue it nicely into position. And it includes here a pair of couplings, so that's another great thing. And I believe these are NEM pockets, so you can just slot in, and I'm assuming that this in the buffer beam here is designed as an NEM pocket. No, it's not. So is this the pocket for the couplings, I'm assuming? You've got a nice size hole in the buffer beam here if you want to use different couplings, but if you want to use the supplied ones, that's going to just glue into position there, I would think. And then that coupling is just going to push into position. I'm not going to put it right the way in just now, but that's effectively the idea, I believe. The really cool thing about that is that it means that this pocket here does have a degree of movement, which will then allow this coupling to bend through much tighter radius corners than would otherwise be the case. So that's very, very good. I see another very nice detail, the injector pipe works, and you've got the coal and the bunker on this side. Yes, very, very nice. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this piece out from the bottom, and then I'll give it a spray in primer. So just going through the instructions here, I have noticed something that's quite important. It notes there's a sprue on the inside of the saddle tank with 3 detailing components. This sprue should be cut with approximately 2mm of the bar remaining at each side in order to act as a locator when the body's fitted to the chassis. So I'm glad I read that before I went ahead and just cut this off at the end. So I need to make sure that we leave around 2mm either end when cutting that. But probably a good solution would be to, if in doubt, cut it a little bit further in, and then you can always trim it off more if you need to. But obviously if you cut it too close so that it's not wide enough, you can't put it back once you've cut it off. Okay, so I've taken out and given it a spray in a black primer, so I'm going to go for a very dark finish. You can see it's really brought out a lot of the detail, all the fine riveting and everything. So it's very, very, very nice indeed. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get in to things like the footplate and the smoke box and things, and just give it another coat of a matte kind of smoky black, maybe a dark grey even. Okay, so I guess the next thing is going to be deciding what colour to go with for the bodywork and the saddle tank. Being a freelance loco, it's pretty much a carte blanche to go with whatever you fancy. So I'm going to give a try to this Humbrol number 91 matte, which is apparently a black green, which hopefully is going to look quite nice. So let's give that a go and see how it comes out. So I do think the very subtle tinge of that black green works quite well. I'm quite pleased with that. So I guess the next thing is figuring out painting all the handrails and all of the extra boiler fittings there. Working out what's going to be black, what's going to be brass, etc. And also deciding whether I'm going to paint up the dome there. So I've got this Vallejo brass, and I'm just going to use that to paint over the dome and some of the other extra bits. I'm just going to do the little handrail knobs around the cab as well. So I think now I'm going to paint in some of the other bits of pipework and stuff in a more kind of silvery metallic. So I'm going to start with the controls for the sanders, the pipework there, and the pipework around the back. I think I'll have that in this. Cool, so I'm just going to start up painting up the boiler backhead. Most of this is just going to be in a matte black. Okay, so I'm just going to come back with the brass paint and a little cocktail stick and just pick out some of the detail on the back head here. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of this Tamiya bronze, slightly unusual one, but I like the slightly almost black metallic-y kind of look. Just to get some extra detail. Across the firebox door. We're just going to dab a little bit of white into the pressure gauge. And so now just going to make sure that the outside of that is nicely back in the brass, sorry. Okay, so now I'm happy enough to go ahead and try and glue the boiler backhead in position. This is going to be a slightly delicate operation. I'm not sure the best way of doing it. Okay, so I've just put a little bit of glue on the back of the back head. It's easier to get it with the loco propped up like this, I think. So I just get my tweezers and hopefully I'm going to be able to slide it in place. Yeah, and it seems to have gone in nicely enough. Cool, so I'm going to want to have some red buffer beams, I think. So for that I'm going to be using this Humbrol 174 satin. It is a bit thin, it's not giving the best coverage, but I think a couple of coats will see it good. And something else that I have missed out is the lovely capped chimney there, so I'm just going to paint that up as well. Since I'm here with a slightly bigger brush, I'll also start getting some black down onto the chassis. So I'm just going to use some more of this metallic silver just to come around the wheels. So now I'm just going to get some brown. This is a Tamiya linoleum deck brown, and I'm going to paint this over the toolbox. I think it's going to be a lot easier painting these on the sprue rather than cutting them off and then attempting to paint. And I'm just using the same brown for the base of the jack there as well. So I think that's coming along quite nicely now. I'm pretty pleased with it. I think I've got the bulk of the painting up done there. So one nice little thing that Fourdees have recently introduced is their own set of custom decals, the water slide transfers. So I've got the set here that goes with this Pioneer loco. Rather generously they include a double set, so if you make any mistakes you've got one backup spare as well, which is very good. And of course if you don't make any mistakes you can use it on a second loco. They're all nicely customly designed to fit the specific loco, and if we look here, this one, it's a nice kind of, if I can focus, it's a really nice quite ornate red and green lining on that. So they do recommend that the decals go best on a gloss surface. Obviously I've been using a matte acrylic, so what I will use is some of this Vallejo Decal Fix. Okay, so I've got my loco here ready for the transfer, and I've cut out the first transfer as closely as I can around the edge. I could have probably got a little bit closer than that, but I don't want to risk damaging it. I did try using the sharp knife and a ruler, but I actually found it a lot easier to just use a pair of scissors. I found it rather more controllable. So I'm just going to use a little of the Vallejo Decal Fix and bob this down across where the transfer is going to go. Just put a little bit on, and then I think this is a soft brush, and then just brush it around the whole area where the transfer is going to go. And I'm just going to spread a little bit further down as well, because I'm about to do the other one as well, just where I've got some excess. I've got my little tray of cold water, and I'm just going to bump my transfer in, leave it, it reckons about 10 seconds should be enough, so let's see. I could probably do with a timer. Okay, but I can see it's starting to slide around on the transfer now, so I'm just going to pop it out and then gently slide it across. Hopefully we can see it not going horribly wrong. And there we go. Just push it with the finger to get it going, and then hopefully I can find the edge. Hold it with the tweezer and slide it out. It's relatively painless, and now I'm just going to very gently guide it into what I want to be its final precise position, which I think I've got it pretty close already actually. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm just going to use the brush to lightly brush down and brush outward, try and brush any excess liquid out from underneath the transfer. I'm using the absolute bare minimum of pressure. It does look a bit dodgy down the end here with the Decal fix under because it's white, but it will dry clear, so that's not too much of a problem. So we're just going to put a little bit. I've still got the loco down this way. Maybe enough. Now, I don't know if it might be better to actually cut these pieces into maybe 2 or 3 pieces so that you can cut out the inside as well, rather than putting it as one piece with a full transfer blank piece in the middle. I'm doing it as just the whole sheet, but it's not necessarily the only way to do it, and it's not necessarily the best way, but it's the way I'm doing it, so what can you do? And let's just let this dry off a little bit. Well, not dry off because it's in the wet, isn't it? Let it wet up a bit. And this does seem to be fully symmetrical, this piece, so it doesn't really matter which way around it goes. Yeah, it's loose, so let's just lift it up. Ooh, and preferably not dropping it. Let's just gently slide it into position, and making your fine adjustments. So I think it possibly needs to come down a bit, and I might be better off moving it with my finger. I've got a little bit of a crease in there, so just smooth it out with the brush. And yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that, all told. So I'm just going to let it dry. Okay, so now the transfer is dried on there. I'm just going to use a little of the Decal softener, just brush a little bit on, and that will just help it blend in, particularly where the surface is not flat, like over the rivets and things. shouldn't need much. Just put a small amount on. And then I'll just quickly brush it over. Right into the corners. Great, just like that. And now I'll just leave that to dry off. And so that's all dried now. And you can see it's kind of blended in. It looks quite nice, particularly like over the rivets there. And it's got quite a nice matte effect to it as well. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And I've done both sides just the same. So I'm just going to quickly paint these over black. It might be easier spray painting them. They're very, very tiny and fiddly. Ooh. It's a bit of a challenge. Could probably do with something to hold on while I'm painting them over. Okay, so it should be fairly straightforward. Just to pop these in. I'm thinking probably a little bit of glue might be necessary to hold it, but actually, yeah, I think that's quite a nice friction fit, to be fair. And it's a question of whether or not I want to paint that across in red to match the rest of the buffer beam. Let's pop the rear one in as well. And so then we get the couplings. I think these are NEMs. So they should just snap in. Now, to be honest, I'm wondering if I've maybe done this backwards. And that it might actually have been better to put the two pieces of the coupling together and then snap it in place. Okay, no, that's fine. And the nice thing that you can see about the design is that there is a degree of flexibility in the coupling there, which is going to be very helpful for people who have very tight corners on their layout. So again, just need to make sure I've got it the right way around. So the hook is on the top. And it just snaps in. And again, there's a nice amount of play on it. Okay, so I'm going to come around to some of the additional details now. So there's this very nice little toolbox that came with the kit. However, I'm struggling to find somewhere on the Loco to put it. The most obvious place would seem to be here, but because of the angle of this rod for connecting to the sandboxes, there's not quite enough space for it to actually squeeze in there. It doesn't quite fit. Kind of the next obvious place may be here, but then you've got quite a bit of a curve there, so it's not entirely obvious place to put it. And then around the front footplate you've got the little stepping there, so it's not a very good place to put it. There's not enough space on the footplate at the rear, so yeah, I'm struggling to know what to do with that. So I think I will actually keep that one to one side and put it into the spares box and probably use it on a different Loco. However, the other things that we get with the kit, you've got the little Loco jack and the oil can, so I'm going to use those nicely. So I just put the jack first, so I'll just pop a little bit of glue on the back. And then I'm going to drop that in just there. and I don't want it to be exactly straight. I want it to be on a slight angle, as though it's just been placed there rather than its actual part of the loco. So yeah, I think that's quite nice. And then if I can find the oil can, and the same thing. Tab of glue, and I will pop that on the front. There we go. Something like that. And now, so it comes with a moulded 3D printed coal load. I don't really like moulded coal generally, but this is actually a pretty decent one, to be fair. It actually looks fairly good. It looks better than most of the ones I see on ready to run locos. However, I do have my magic tub of Welsh steam coal, so I'm going to put a little bit of genuine coal in there. So I've just got a small amount of watered down PVA that I'm just going to lightly brush onto the top of the moulded coal, and then I'm just going to grab a little bit of this coal, try not to get too large pieces. He says picking up a massive piece, and in fact it might be easier just grabbing it with the fingers and sprinkling some of that in. There you go, something like that. So I'll just need to let that the glue on that dry. So once that's dried, I've got here a tiny shovel. I'm not sure of the origins of this one. I think it's a Brooks 3D one. It was in the spares detailing box, so I'm not sure exactly where that comes from. So once the glue in there is dried, I'll quickly bob a bit of glue on the back of that and stick it on top of the coal load. I won't show that, but I'll explain it now. Then I've got, again from my detailing box of spares, I've got some little works plates here. I have no idea what the origins of those are, but I think they look they're just the ticket, so I will carefully cut off a pair of these. Again, I will just pop a bit of glue on the back. So I think a better way of doing this is going to be to dab a little PVA in the desired position using a cocktail stick, and then just pop in the plate on top of that. And we've got a bit of time now to adjust the position. There we go, something like that. So I'm just going to do a tiny amount of weathering, not too much. I've just got a couple of Revel weathering powders here. There's a mud green, a dark brown and a rust red. So I'm just going to use a slightly damp brush just to swoosh a tiny amount of this powder across the foot plate. keep going, taking it off, putting some on, until I get something that I'm reasonably happy with, which I think I'm pretty much there now. I want something that looks very well used, but also well cared for. And something that is also quite interesting is that the colours do change as the water dries, so you do have to keep an eye on it just to see whether it's gone too far or... So once I've got a look that I'm happy with and all the weathering powder is dried, what I'll do is I'll pop it off the chassis and I'll just nip outside and give it a quick spray in a matte varnish just to protect all of the weatherings and the transfers on there. Okay, and so there we are. Now my next, final, for now at least, touch is going to be the addition of a driver figure. So this is a fellow I bought from Scale 3D and have painted up. I'm working on the principle that the Loco is going to have a single crew member, driver and fireman, both in one. And this figure is quite nice. He's got his hand out and it turns out it's exactly the right height for the regulator on this, so that's quite nice. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on his feet and I'll just pop him in. With his hand resting nicely on the regulator. Okay, and so there is my finished Fourdees the Pioneer, and I have to say I'm very pleased with this. I think it looks really nice. The amount of detail on there matches any of the ready-to-run locos, and it went together very easily as well, but those transfers really set it off. That's a superb addition by Fourdees, and at a very reasonable price, really, considering the prices that Decals from other manufacturers go for. And it's something that really puts Fourdees up and above pretty much any other 3D printed kit maker going. So here she is down on the layout, and I think looking very nice, very much the part. And so there we have it then, that's it. That is my Fourdees the Pioneer kit build. Yeah, no, okay. I can't even carry on, can I? I'm not going to build a steam loco for you and not show you it's running. So yes, even though it comes with a static chassis, it is designed to fit the Kato Peco chassis. And I have got one of those, so let's get it running, shall we? Let's go have a look at the chassis. So this is the chassis that you need to motorise it, the Kato 57201, the motor unit from the small England, and it arrives in this little packet kind of like that. So if I just pop the staples out, let's have a closer look at it. Oh, that's quite smartly packaged. And unravel it. And there it is. So, yep, the first thing you notice is it doesn't fit as it immediately comes, because it does include this plastic casing. Now I need to work out how you remove that. So there seems to be clips on each side of the saddle tank there. So I'm going to give that a try. There we go, that's got it. So we don't need that bit, but we can see there that there's got these cast weights on either side, which really helps. And then it's a cordless motor with a little flywheel on the front. Now, again, I suspect we don't need this plastic piece either. So let's see which way that comes to get that up. Oh, that just pulls off the footplate. So again, there's that. And there's the basic core chassis. And theoretically, it should be a straightforward fit. So, ooh. Yes, just like that. So that looks rather nice. What I will probably do is give the cylinder case in there a quick paint over in a matte black, just so it doesn't look quite so plasticky. And maybe some of the connecting rods as well. But let's pop it down on the track and see how it runs. So here we are back on the layout now, this time with a powered chassis under there and at the head of the Victorian train. So let's apply a bit of power to the chassis and see how we go. Oh, very nice, very smooth, very quiet, very controllable. And so there we have it. This time that really is it. That is my Fourdees, the Pioneer, up and running, and I have to say it's a really lovely kit. Now for me, Fourdees have really lived up to their reputation with this one. The detail in it is just stunning. So ultimately it's a hearty recommendation for me for this one. I think it's absolutely stunning. And I'm looking forward to sharing some more Fourdees kits with you in the future as well. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you did, you know, the usual comment, like, subscribe and all of that jazz. And all that remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching. Thank you.